You are listening to TBR Radio presents The DIXIE Heritage Show, with your host, the Director of DIXIE Heritage, Dr. Ed DeVries.
On last week's TBR Radio Presents The DIXIE Heritage Show, one of our segments was Tucker Carlson's commentary on Kamala Harris, and that's drawn a lot of response. I have a lot of emails that have come in the last week, and particularly people have asked me two questions. And those two questions were, one of them was the president had insinuated that it's possible that Kamala Harris might not be eligible to be president. And of course, the responses to that from any of a number of people in the media and on the left have been, well, this is what racism looks like. The president's a racist. How dare the president challenge Harris's eligibility? You know, he's only doing that because she's black or because she's a woman or because she's half Asian or because she's of mixed race. Her father was Jamaican and her mother was an Indian, that being from India, the subcontinent of India, not Native American. The president's taken a lot of flack for that, but the truth is if she's ineligible constitutionally for the office because there's a question as to her citizenship, in other words, the Constitution clearly states that the president must be a natural-born citizen. And therefore, the implication is that the vice president should be a natural-born citizen, or how else could the vice president, if need be, assume an office for which they're constitutionally ineligible? And so the president was raising questions of citizenship based on an article that he had written. He kind of made the comment that he was looking into it. He didn't go any further with that. I'm going to assume that means that he looked into it and maybe things weren't there, or at least not to the degree of which he wanted to pursue that. But the truth is we've had a big problem in this country for the last several election cycles now. You know, prior to the candidacy of Donald Trump, of course, Hillary Clinton, we could beg the question. All of the pronouns in the Constitution referring to the president are male. And so is a woman eligible under the Constitution to run for or be the president of the United States? Most people would argue that, the use of the male pronoun does not exclude a female. Others would argue that it does. Of course, there is one very simple way to remedy that matter, and that's simply to amend the Constitution to change the pronouns. Of course, there's a process in place that would be required to do that. But you take it even broader than that. Barack Obama. Barack Obama was a citizen of Indonesia. When he was, I want to say 12 years old, his mother moved him to Indonesia, and he renounced, or his mother renounced for him, whatever citizenship he had, and he became an Indonesian citizen. And there's no legal evidence that he was ever repatriated as a citizen of the United States. And so therefore, even if you want to argue that Obama was naturally born in the United States, he was no longer a citizen. Of course, there's another argument that you can make there, assuming that Barack Obama was born in Hawaii. That is that Hawaii was not a state at the time of Obama's birth. Therefore, once again, he was not a natural-born citizen of the United States, because to be a natural-born citizen, you have to be born in one of the several states, and Hawaii was not one of the several states at the time of his birth. And then, of course, there's the question as to whether or not Barack Obama was born in Kenya. You know, some people say, well, that was absolutely ludicrous. Was it? His grandmother said that he was born in Kenya. Oh, but I forgot. She died a few days later, so there was no way to substantiate her claim. But why didn't we investigate it? Worst case scenario, if Obama really was born in Hawaii, is, okay, so there's this claim that he might have been born in Kenya. Let's investigate that. Let's prove that it was false. It was never even investigated. But again, there's a question as to whether or not someone was a natural-born citizen of the United States. Let's go to the election cycle prior to that. Who was the Republican candidate? It was John McCain. John McCain was born in Panama. The last time I checked, Panama was not one of the several states. You say, well, he was born on a military installation. Doesn't matter. He was still born in a foreign country. And so therefore, he was not a natural-born citizen in the United States. He was a U.S. citizen who was naturally born in Panama. And so he was ineligible to hold the office, and yet the Republicans insisted on running him. Let's go to the presidency before that. George W. Bush. I'm going to assume that Bush was lawfully elected in his second term. In his first term, there was a question as to who held the majority of votes in the Electoral College. And the Supreme Court determined that for us and said it was George W. Bush. There's only one little problem with that, and that is that the Constitution of the United States specifically says that when there's a question as to who has the majority of votes in the Electoral College, the House of Representatives chooses the next president. And so under the law of our country, under the Constitution, the Al Gore George Bush election controversy should have been decided not by the courts, but by the Congress. And the Congress failed to do that. And so George W. Bush, in his first term, was not legitimately elected as president because it was not up to the Supreme Court to decide these things. Again, it was up to Congress. What point am I making? The point that I'm making is that at least as early as the year 2000, as far as the elective process of choosing a president is concerned in this country, the Constitution was chunked out of the window. Rather than letting Congress decide the matter in the year 2000, rather than having constitutionally qualified candidates. In other words, both major parties, the Republican Party putting up a John McCain, the Democrat Party putting up a Hillary Clinton or a Barack Obama, knowing that there were questions as to their constitutional eligibility and basically telling the American people, F you, and, we're going to run who we run, whether they're constitutionally eligible or not. And that's the environment, if you will, of presidential politics. And both major parties are equally guilty of disregarding the Constitution and the law of our land and just proper decorum and process. And they have been for the last 20 years. So anyways, let's fast forward now. Kamala Harris, is she a natural-born citizen? Is she eligible to be president of the United States or not? I'm going to attempt to answer that question, but I don't really know the answer. I will say this. Kamala Harris was born in California. As far as we know, she was physically born within the state of California. California became a state, I want to say, in 1870, and I could be wrong about that. But California did become a state in the 19th century, and so California had been a state for decades before Kamala Harris was born in the 1960s. And so unlike Barack Obama, even had he been born in Hawaii, at the time of his birth, Hawaii was not a state, therefore that would not have made him a citizen. Kamala Harris would have been born within the United States, having been born in California because California was a state. Now, the second question that comes up when you consider these things is Kamala Harris's parents were immigrants. They may or may not have been citizens. And that is the question that I have not yet examined. I do know this, that birthright citizenship began in this country in the 1860s. And basically, when Lincoln, died and the war between the states ended and the Reconstruction forced the passage of the 13th Amendment, essentially the 13th Amendment established what we now refer to as birthright citizenship. And so birthright citizenship was in place. California was a state of the Union. Ergo, Kamala Harris was a natural-born citizen of the United States, or at least she was a citizen of the United States who was naturally born within the country. Now, there are some who define that to be a natural-born citizen of the United States, and this is a legal argument that has gone back and forth for decades, for, in fact, the entire history of our nation. And the courts have argued it over and over and over again. And it would appear that to be a natural-born citizen of the United States for the sake of holding political office, to satisfy that constitutional requirement, you not only have to have been born within the United States, in other words, on the soil, which is why Ted Cruz would have also been ineligible to have served as president, because he was born on Canadian soil and not in the United States and so forth, even though his parents at the time were U.S. citizens. There's a lot of questions around these things. Were Kamala Harris's parents citizens of the United States at the time of her birth? They were immigrants. Her mother had immigrated from the nation of India. Her father had immigrated from Jamaica. Were they United States citizens? Because to be a natural-born citizen, as I understand the legal scholars defined it at the time that our Constitution was adopted, and even the courts have argued this, and you've got decisions on both sides. But ultimately, to fully satisfy the letter of the law, I believe, and again, this is my belief, I'm just talking here, I believe that you must A, have been born on the soil of the United States, and B, you have to have been born to parents who were citizens of the United States. And for Kamala Harris's parents, citizens, I have not investigated that matter yet. And I believe that is the matter that the president was saying we needed to investigate, because there was never any question as to whether or not Kamala Harris was born within the United States, having been born in California in the 1960s at the time that she was. So there's the first question. And what we're going to do now, we're going to cut to a commercial because I went a little long there. And then we'll come back after we've heard about the great magazine, the Barnes Review. And in about 45 seconds, I'll let you know the second question that I received by email this week.
Open your web browser and type in www.barnesreview.org and discover the Barnes Review magazine. In the Barnes Review, you will read vignettes of man, from the prehistoric to the very recent, from forgotten races and civilizations to first-person accounts of World War II and the late Cold War. There is no more interesting magazine published today, nor a more significant and important subject than real history. So visit www.barnesreview.org and subscribe to the Barnes Review. You can subscribe to receive the Barnes Review magazine in its print form, or in convenient electronic delivery. Our host has been a subscriber to both formats for years. So visit www.barnesreview.org and subscribe to the Barnes Review.
And we're back, and so what was that second question? The question was, did I hear Rush Limbaugh's radio show on Friday, and what did I think about what he had to say about Kamala Harris? I was very busy Friday, and I did not have the opportunity to hear Limbaugh's radio program on that day, but because so many people were asking me about it, I did go back, and I did find the recording of Limbaugh's program. He puts it up on YouTube and other places. Plus, I've got the Rush Limbaugh app on my phone, so I'm able to get those recordings. And so what I've done is I've pieced together a few clips here, and pretty much these are the ones I'm pretty sure our listeners were asking about. So what did Rush Limbaugh have to say about Kamala Harris?
NBA has fired a freelance photographer because he insulted Kamala Harris. His name is Bill Baptiste. He's an independent contractor, had the deal terminated by the league after he posted a sexist Facebook post referencing Kamala Harris. He posted an image that read Joe and Ho, H-O-E. Now, what do you think that's about? Joe and the Ho. Well, that takes me to the second story. Then there is this from The Spectator: why it should matter to women that Kamala slept her way up. Whoa! It's no secret, but public knowledge, that Kamala Harris slept her way up into California political life by being a very public escort and mattress for California Democrat kingmaker Willie Brown. Now, some people read this story, mattress, didn't he mean mistress? No, I think they meant mattress here.
Wow. So, mistress or mattress? I'm not even going to touch that one. I'm not going to comment on that one. But I will say this. The accusation, of course, the reference, if you will, is the fact that Kamala Harris is known to have dated the once mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. And, of course, Willie Brown, for many years, was considered to be kind of a kingmaker in California politics. Have you seen a picture of Willie Brown? I'm just going to say it. Let's not even comment on Kamala Harris's morality here. The fact that Willie Brown was married at the time. Look at a picture of Willie Brown, okay? If Kamala Harris would be a mistress or a mattress, her standards are just low, okay? I'm talking low. Wow, that's the only thing I'm going to say about that. Kamala Harris could have done a lot better than Willie Brown, okay? I guess kudos to Willie Brown because, Kamala Harris should have been way out of his league. But what that shows, you say, well, why would Kamala Harris, hook up with such an ugly dude like Willie Brown? Obviously because of, of what she could gain from that relationship. And since it wasn't a studly boyfriend, there must have been some political advantage to that. And so what that proves is that Kamala Harris will do whatever it takes to gain political advantage. And I believe that that is why the people who are managing and handling Joe Biden chose Kamala Harris, because they know she'll do whatever it takes. Whatever she has to say, she'll say it. Whatever she has to believe, she'll believe it. Whatever she has to do, she'll do it. Nothing will be beneath her. Nothing will be out of line for her. Whatever she has to do, she's going to do. And so I believe that that is why she was chosen by whoever the puppet masters are in the Biden candidacy. But as far as Kamala is concerned, as far as, breaking down Kamala, what she believes, what she's going to do, I believe probably the best analysis that we have seen in the last week on Kamala was probably given to us by Bill O'Reilly. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give you a little segment here that was given to us, compliments of BillO'Reilly.com. But first, let's have a commercial for the American Free Press. Extra, read all about it. If you're like me, and I'll bet you are, you like to be on the cutting edge of honest news and accurate information. 26 times a year, the American Free Press newspaper can be delivered to your door, packed with the kind of uncensored news that I know you're going to appreciate. If you're ever dissatisfied with your subscription to the American Free Press, their guarantee is that you just drop them an email and they will gladly refund the unused portion of your subscription. Visit www.americanfreepress.net. Do it today.
Extra, extra, read all about it. You can assume that Trump supporters despise Kamala Harris, and vice versa, that anyone who would support the nomination of Senator Harris, anyone who would support that, who would like that, hates Trump and Pence, because Senator Harris is the third most liberal senator on Capitol Hill, only behind Bernie Sanders, a self-admitted socialist, and Elizabeth Warren, who is a socialist but couches it, but she is. Kamala Harris is third, and therefore, when Joe Biden picked her as VP, it became the most liberal ticket in the history of this country. So, if Americans want hardcore liberalism, then they will vote for the Biden-Harris ticket. As simple as that. Now, Donald Trump is not a doctrinaire conservative. He's all over the place. But he is primarily a man who is governing in a traditional way. So the status quo is okay with Donald Trump. He wants to get better deals, better economy, all of that. Withdraw troops from abroad. Basically, the status quo is what he's going to do. Not Biden and Harris. They're going to blow it all up if they get elected. So let's get into Ms. Harris. Interesting woman. Skin color, it doesn't matter. This is not a skin color play, all right? She identifies as black. She went to Howard University. Fine. She had a very affluent upbringing. Her parents were professionals. They were immigrants to this country. They did very well, okay? She was deprived of nothing. She wasn't the little girl looking out the window being bussed into a tough school. That's what she wants you to think. That's really not what happened. Yes, she was caught up in the busing. That's true. But this wasn't some kind of a ghetto situation where she was being bused to better herself. No. She had two very professional and successful parents. Kamala Harris is a machine politician. She's not a populist. She's not a socialist. She's a machine politician. And the machine in California is far, far left. She decides, after just being a senator for less than 3 years, to run for president. She gets nowhere. She tops out at 15% support among Democrats in the primary system. The campaign was dull. She looked befuddled, not as befuddled as Mr. Biden, but confused. She changed her positions on a lot of different things. Really, nobody could get a handle on who she is. So what the deuce are San Francisco values? Well, as I said on the radio this morning on the O'Reilly Update, and I hope you check that out on BillO'Reilly.com. We post every day if you don't get it in your town. Here is the rundown of San Francisco values. Avoidance of religion. Secularism rules. Inclusion is everything. Lax border enforcement. free citizenship, amnesty for all undocumenteds here, and a fast track to vote. That's very important. So if you give citizenship to all the undocumenteds in the United States, about 15 to 20 million people, and you fast track them to the vote, the Republican Party pretty much disappears. We become a one-party country, if that happens. No due process. This is my beef with Kamala Harris. She does not believe in due process. All accusations are convictions in her mind, and we'll prove that in a minute. Low crime enforcement. Now, from a DA and an attorney general, you don't want to incarcerate. She doesn't want to, doesn't want to do any of that. Me Too, absolutely. Political correctness, okay, fine. Green New Deal, we love it. Right, these are all San Francisco values, and she's in 100%. There is nothing about Senator Harris that goes against the far left orthodoxy. Nothing. She has no dissenting opinions. Now, why would Joe Biden, who has a record of being a moderate, he's not any longer, Joe Biden is what the far left tells him to be. Now, why would he select her? She was chosen for one primary reason: to attack Donald Trump. She is considered the most vicious of all the Democratic politicians in contention for VP. Whitmer is pretty vicious in the governor of Michigan, but Whitmer isn't a person of color. So Harris basically checked off this box. So her job in the next 2.5 months is to attack Trump in unprecedented ways. Remember, Donald Trump's still the president of the United States. Well, you're going to see. It's going to be unbelievable. And the second reason she was chosen was because in response, it is difficult to kick back at Senator Harris. And when Trump does, and the Trump supporters do, they will be branded racists and misogynists. That label, no matter what the counterattack is on Ms. Harris, racist, misogynist, if you say anything negative about her. 8 women have accused Joe Biden of misconduct. You all know the story. I'm not going to go over it. I don't know any of these women. One of them is Tara Reid, and that was the worst accusation, whatever. Here's what Kamala Harris said about the 8 women who attacked, and they did attack, all right, Joe Biden. She said this on April 2nd, 2019. Go.
I believe them, and I respect them being able to tell their story and having the courage to do it.
Do you believe that the vice president should enter this race?
He's going to have to make that decision for himself. I wouldn't tell him what to do.
I believe them. If you believe them, why would you be running with Joe Biden? When Harris, in 2020, was asked about Tara Reid, I'm not going to repeat Reid's allegations. I don't do that. Here's what Harris said in March of 2020. Quote, Tara Reid has a right to tell her story, and she shouldn't face any repercussions for that. But the Joe Biden I know is somebody that really has fought for women and empowerment of women and women's equality and rights, unquote. Well, that's a little bit different than 2019 when Harris was running against Biden, is it not? What happened? Well, she knew that she was being considered for VP. So Kamala Harris believed all the women in 2019, but not so much in 2020. Now, I'm only reporting this to show you who she is. Key issues for you, the American voter. Black Lives Matter.
They're not going to stop, and this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day.
Senator Harris, big fan of the Black Lives Matter movement. Big fan. Doesn't matter they're Marxists. Healthcare.
So once and for all, do you believe that private insurance should be eliminated in this country?
No.
You don't?
No, I do not.
But you raised your hand last night.
But the question was, would you give up your private insurance for that option? And I said yes.
Oh, I think you heard it differently than others then.
Probably, because that's what I heard. I am a proponent of Medicare for all. Private insurance will exist for supplemental coverage, but under my vision of Medicare for All, one, we will expand coverage so that it would include dental, it would include vision, it would include hearing aids, which is a big issue for our seniors and extremely expensive.
That's right. It's extremely expensive. Who would pay for that? We got a $30 trillion debt now. Who's going to pay for that? You'd have to seize private property in order to pay for all the health care that Kamala Harris wants to pay for, because there are not enough wealthy, affluent people in the country to pay for it. And corporations are going to move overseas. They're already starting. It's already started, because a lot of people think Biden-Harris is going to win. Say goodbye. They're leaving. Not going to pay what the Democrats want to tax in the corporate realm. All right, finally, another soundbite. I mean, I know you know, but I think this is all instructive to get on the record. So my main beef with Kamala Harris is that she does not believe in due process. In this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. Proven guilty. Just because somebody lodges an allegation doesn't mean you did it or you're guilty. But not to Kamala Harris, who was the Attorney General of California. She believes all accusations from women, all of them. She didn't check out the 8 women who attacked Biden, but she said she believed all of them. Every one of the 8 Kamala Harris believed. But now she doesn't believe them because she's running with Joe Biden. On Brett Kavanaugh, Kamala Harris was outrageous. Roll the tape.
I believe her. Listen, first of all, anybody who comes forward at this point to be prepared to testify in the United States Senate against someone who's being nominated to one of the most powerful positions in the United States government, that takes an extraordinary amount of courage. And frankly, you know, I have personally prosecuted sexual assault cases, and my concern is, and she knows this, she is putting herself out there knowing that they're going to try and excoriate her.
She was excoriated, Christine Blasey Ford. But Kamala believes her. She believes her. The FBI turned up not one piece of evidence to back up Ms. Ford's assertions. Not one. And yes, Ms. Ford was criticized. But she walked away with more than $1 million. Do you know that? And the GoFundMe stuff. And her own radical left attorney said that one of the reasons Ms. Ford went after Brett Kavanaugh is because of abortion. Senator Harris, 3rd most liberal on Capitol Hill. 3rd. Skin color means nothing. Chosen because she will attack Trump in a vicious way. And if you go back at her, then the left and the Democratic Party will label you a bigot, a racist, and a misogynist. So she's got this kind of protective shield around her. The most important thing for you as an American citizen to remember is that there is a chance, and I hope it doesn't happen, that Joe Biden will not make it. Do you want Kamala Harris? Really? Even you liberal Democrats? And I know you listen to what I say. You really want her? Because she would demolish the United States of America as we know it.
Hello, I'm Tom Strain, Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. The Confederate flag, Confederate symbols, and the reputation of our Confederate ancestors has come under attack. Contact your local, state, and national elected politicians and tell them that you will not tolerate these attacks on our heritage. You can also visit scv.org, download an application to join us in our fight to preserve our Southern heritage. Visit scv.org today. If you don't have a Confederate ancestor and you are tired of American history disappearing, you can assist us by becoming a friend of the SCV. Please visit scvheritagedefense.org and make a donation to the Heritage Defense Fund. We hope that you will join us in the fight to defend the Confederate soldiers' good name.
That is all the time we have for this week's TBR Radio Presents the Dixie Heritage Show. And I hope that you've had something that was said in today's show that was of a thought-provoking nature. You know, we were basically answering questions that were emailed in by several different listeners. We don't often do a show like this, but when that many emails come in such a short period of time, you know, sometimes you just have to respond to the things that are of interest to your people. And so if you have something that's ever of interest to you after you've watched one of our programs, please reach out to us. Of course, our website is www.dixiheritage.net, www.dixiheritage.net, and my email address is director@dixiheritage.net. We always love to hear from you. So I will be back again at this same time in this same place again next week. I hope that you will join us. Until then, from all of us here at TBR Radio, God bless.